Hello, family. It's me, Sabu. And for my family in the United States, it's SBU. How are y'all doing tonight? I hope everybody's doing well. And tonight, guess what, guys? We got another outstanding show. I've been listening. I've read comments. I've gotten all the feedback. And I've listened to everything you guys said. And y'all told me I need to get me a South African. We ain't going to take that literal. Y'all know what I mean. So I actually have a South African here with me tonight, and he's going to be a part of the conversation. And I know most of y'all probably know who he is, Clantis Dumakade. Y'all listen, I am starting with the Zulu very soon, so just give me a break, But anyway, Clantis,
I'll give
hello.
her a pass. How are you?
It's good to see you. I'm so glad that you are here.
It's good to see you too. Thank you.
Listen, we got some things we're going to talk about. So y'all listen, y'all that don't know Clantis, it's Clantis. He's here. Listen, I love Clantis' channel, and he's going to tell us the official name of the channel and shout it out. So if you don't know him, make sure you go to his YouTube channel and...
Hello, everybody. Happy Youth Day. My name is Clantis Dumagude, and that is the channel name.
Dumakude.
Yeah.
Yeah, did y'all hear that? Oh my God, just effortless, right? It should be. But again, like Clantis has said, we are definitely taking some time out for today. It is Youth Day. And this is all in remembrance of the uprising. Hector Peterson, if y'all don't remember, but I know my South African family does remember that. But Happy Youth Day.
Happy
Yeah,
Youth Day,
that was
indeed.
Good. So Clantis, before we get started, before we jump into it, I got to have my family understand and know that you are a real South African.
My
us some
parents
history.
both are Zulus. My grandparents are both Zulus. Their parents are Zulus. And that makes me 100% Zulu and South African.
Y'all, it don't get no better than that.
Yeah.
Okay, so listen, give us a little bit of history. Born where?
So I was born in a township between Pietermaritzburg and Durban called Hammersdale, Mpumalanga Township. We lived in Unit 4. And so during the days of apartheid, so the apartheid government kind of like had two black political parties to butt heads, and there was a lot of black-on-black violence. My family was involved heavily in the ANC, and our house in Unit 4, Hammersdale, was situated in one of the opposition parties. And so my family was targeted. We got an intel. My mom got an intelligence intel that we were targeted. And so as a result of that, my brother and I, because they were mostly looking for boys, they would arm them with a gun and then they'll make them shoot their parents. Already that was happening. A cousin of mine, about a few hours prior to that, they had done that too. So when the intel came, we were shoved into, I still remember very well, even though I was a kid, we were shoved into a Datsun. I don't know if you know that vehicle.
A Datsun, yes.
Yeah, the tiny one.
We had Datsuns.
Yeah, it was a tiny, I still remember it. And clothes were just put on top of us, including mattresses. And then I remember just the car just driving forever. Just forever. So later on, we found out that we landed in Swaziland. So my brother and I were left in Swaziland by my mom for 5 years while she came back, I guess, to continue with the political struggle.
Okay, that you told that story like it was, I'm envisioning a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm envisioning like Panther stuff. You know the Black Panthers,
Yeah,
right? I'm
I do.
envisioning something like that, and you just went by it and you just kept going.
Yeah.
How old were you when this happened?
I think at this point, I'm like 4 or 5 years old. I mean, I've always been a curious child. My brain works differently for some reason, and I can remember a lot of things. And I do remember this moment. I do remember it very well. Even when we got to Swaziland, for the first time in my life, I was subjected to a rural, and I'm talking hardcore rural lifestyle, where cooking on the floor was a norm, and going to fetch water in the river was a norm. Where I come from, all of those things were totally the opposite.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, we had tap water.
Right,
we had
and now you're in
tarred
the
roads and all of that stuff.
So now there's no roads.
Nope.
You're cooking in the middle of the floor
Yep.
or in the middle of the ground. Is it ground?
On the ground, and then right outside the window, the cow is trying to eat away your clothes. It was just funny.
And how long did you stay there?
5 years. I ended up speaking Swati, even though Swati, Zulu, Ndebele, and Xhosa, they Nguni. I think that's how I caught it quicker, but the dialect is different. So I ended up speaking Swati. By the time we came back, we sounded very, very different from the other kids in the neighborhood. And on top of that, so I grew up during the dying days of apartheid. So when Nelson Mandela was released in 1990, I remember very well, and I just told you this story that I thought he was a figment of people's imaginations until I saw him in 1990 released, and I looked at my mom. I'm like, this guy is real, and I got a backhand for that. Because there was a song that was sung about Nelson Mandela, Kululu Mandela Zobu, or something of that nature. I can't remember how it goes. And she was like, we were singing these songs, and we used to have meetings in our house to pave a pathway into democracy, and you're telling me you don't remember? And I'm like, no. And
you had to hide in the Dotson with clothes on top of you for a figment of the imagination.
That's
it was just too much, right? You couldn't put all that together.
Exactly.
Oh my God, this is something else.
Yeah.
Listen, I haven't gotten past that story yet. I want to go back a little bit because you said you were about 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah, somewhere there.
And from my understanding, if I heard it correctly, some political party wanted you to unalive your parents. They wanted you to do that.
Yep, and unalive us in the end.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so in order to prevent all of this, we had to go. You had to leave. And I understand, of course.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Woo.
And interestingly, that political party still exists. It's in parliament and in government.
Okay, we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. Oh, God, you're moving. You're taking me too fast. I can see you going down the highway now in the Dotson, driving quickly. I can just see it running away. Was it yellow?
It was red.
Oh, wow.
Even
red.
though at that age, I know nothing about colors.
Wow.
But that color, every time I saw it in a Datsun, it kind of like resonated. Like, I know this color. I didn't know what color, but I know that color.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you got to, and forgive me,
Swaziland.
Swaziland.
Eswatini today. It's called Eswatini today.
Eswatini.
Yeah.
So when you got there, you 5 years old, let's just say, and you stayed there for 5 years. Now, in that 5 years, did that rural area, did it evolve at all?
I don't know now, because the last time I went there, it was probably like early 2000s, and it was not because I was returning there. It was, I think it was a school trip.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was a school trip. And things have changed, especially the main town, Manzini, as well as Mbabani. I was like, oh, okay, this is cool. But we did not go as far as where we stayed, a place called Don Don, which is very close to Mayflower, if I remember very well, by the dark forest.
So guys, listen, I need y'all to hear this. Y'all hear all this history. Listen, this is authentic. He is definitely South African. We get so much of a pushback from people who may call themselves South African, which I really don't know if they are or not. So I can't really say.
Yeah,
if it's
well,
real or not.
we can tell who is who isn't, yeah.
I'm not that good yet.
Yeah, well, you'll catch on.
I'll catch on.
Let me give you how you can actually catch on the attitude. South African attitude is very different from everyone else's.
Now,
so if you're gonna get somebody who comes in very strong at you, that's not a South African.
You know, I can imagine that that's true, because every person that I've met that I knew was South African, they have always been humble.
Yes.
Very humble,
yeah.
Very laid back. And I told my husband one time, I said, why do everybody around here smoke weed? Because everybody real relaxed, real calm. Hey, there's no, we'd be like, did you just say? And they'd be like, oh, okay.
As crazy as we are, we know how to treat people.
It's very laid back. It's very like, okay.
Yeah. We will never deliberately or intentionally make you feel uncomfortable, ever.
I can almost believe that.
Yeah.
I can, but the West is spilling over.
Yeah.
We got the internet.
Yep.
We got social media. So things may be changing a bit.
And I will justify that. South Africans, we are the type of people who will, number one, give you a long rope.
Okay.
Now, what you do with that rope is totally up to you.
Right.
Either you will play with it, create something that we can benefit out of it, or you are going to take it and hang yourself by saying things that we don't appreciate. Because we don't come for you and we don't call for you.
So you've been watching too much TV? Would you say that South Africa is in crisis?
So I would say South Africa lost its way, and I'll tell you what I know that we learned from Or Tambo. I will speak about...
Because he was the person who said this.
He was the Secretary General of the ANC, I think the longest serving. And he would have conversations with the children of the ANC. And if you are a child of the ANC my age, you know what I'm talking about. And we were told that the responsibility of advancing South Africa rests with us.
Yes.
And since it rests, it's a big responsibility. And this is the plan that many young Black South Africans don't know. This is how it was, or the formula. The formula was, because we are uneducated, some of us come from Bantu education, some were in the trenches, either in exile or whatever the case was. So we don't have the know-how of governing. But because we have won over our country, we still have to do something to keep it moving while you guys take yourselves to school. Because the people who are going to lead this country, it's going to be you guys. But you can only lead this country with qualifications.
Yes.
So education was drummed into our heads, so much so that an entire campaign was created. Education is key. We all grew up knowing that education is key to open doors anywhere in the world you want to go to, as long as you are holding that paper. And my mom, of course, took that very seriously, and many other parents took that seriously. But the problem was, as South Africa was advancing and became part of the global village, and monies were starting to get made by the government, particularly under President Thabo Mbeki, where South Africa was making surpluses, and on top of that, there were policies that were introduced that were supposed to benefit us, like BEE, or Black Economic Empowerment. That was turned into a different animal, where we used to also have like a youth fund institution like Umsobomvu, which is supposed to encourage us to become entrepreneurs, and then government will fund those entrepreneurial ideas. And it turned into a totally different animal, where the people that were responsible for those money started squandering it, and basically corruption just took off.
Okay, stop right there. I want to go back to the BEE.
Yeah.
When you have a country where it's predominantly, where we are the majority, do you think BEE is necessary?
The idea of BEE is necessary to equalize, because people, they tend to think that BEE is to take away, when in fact it is about the equilibrium, it's equality. And not exactly equality, I would say. I think it's more about, there's a word that I'm looking for, which is close to equality. But it is to balance the scale. Excuse me, please edit that.
Balance the scale with what, though?
Balance the scale in terms of the Afrikaner nation had their own BEE.
Oh.
Yeah. Which Afrikaners under the Apartheid benefited the most out of South Africa's natural resources. They even created laws such as the 1913 Land Act, where Black people were forcefully removed from a place where they thought it was conducive either for farming or business or even building a city.
Okay, but that was prior to apartheid ending.
This is during, this is colonialism into apartheid.
Absolutely.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, now that it is ended,
the
BEE is still prevalent and still being used for equality.
Well, since 1994, then the government then created this policy so that we all benefit equally from business opportunities, economic growth, and
that's to help me understand. Maybe I don't understand, because I'm saying if 80% of us are in the workforce, I'm just how am I not benefiting if I am qualified? Because like you said, Tumbo himself said, and your mom, education. And not all of us have the same amount of intelligence, skills. I mean, there are going to be some that do well at this job, some that do well at that job. It just because you show up, it doesn't mean that we should be equal.
No, the B is more on the economic side of things, not on the job seeking and getting a
Okay,
job.
so it's just
because there's
on pay.
affirmative action for that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're okay. Okay. Help me out because
Yeah.
I'm thinking if all of us are black, why
Okay.
do we need to be?
Let me give you an example.
Okay.
Elon Musk wanted Starlink in South
Right.
Africa, and the BE policy says that in order for a white person from anywhere in the world wants to do business in South Africa, particularly with government, 30% of their company stake will be BEE.
So he needs to hire 30% black people.
So not exactly hire, he needs to partner up.
Explain partner.
So meaning like if you are in the telecommunication arena, qualified IT person or engineer, Elon Musk would have to approach you and say, hey, listen, I would like to go into or maybe an existing black company.
We actually have the same thing in the United States where there would have to be attempts to, so we're different then because we're the minority there.
Yeah.
So it would have to be an attempt to hire a minority company, say for the uniforms or for the cleaning service, whatever.
Right.
It would have to be an attempt to give at least 30%, 10%, whatever, to a minority group to order your business, to run your business. But only an attempt. If for whatever reason it didn't work out, but you definitely attempted to do so, then you would still be able to run your business.
Well, here is not an attempt, it's a must. Because the structure of your company as well changes. The executive, I think, 30% must be black. And part of that black executive, one of them either is the president or the CEO or some kind of a director.
Okay, so with that, which I can see why that could happen because that brings along. It would make things equal. It would. Okay, but wouldn't that have to mean that there would be things already in place that could benefit Starlink? So if those things, also with that, does Starlink get an opportunity to train those individuals? I mean, how does that work if the infrastructure is not already there?
This is where we reeled off with this policy because there's no way, even I was Elon Musk myself, I'll be having a lot of issues.
Yes, because who's gonna?
Okay, you want to give me this people you want to own part of my company. What skills do they have?
Exactly.
And all the nitty-gritties.
What are you bringing to the table?
Exactly,
on your side?
all those nitty-gritties. And somebody else will say, but look at Microsoft is running very well in South Africa. How did they get those black people?
How did they? It made it work.
Well, because I don't want to talk about too much politics.
And I didn't want to talk about Starlink. You use that as an example.
No, I was using an example.
But no, I understand. So we can go for it. We can just go off of that.
Yeah, because there's a lot of politics
it's a lot.
in that.
And not only that, seeing that there needs to be so much job creation in South Africa outside of service. There needs to be investors. They should be able to come. And I do think that that should be an attempt. I do think that they should definitely attempt to train or to have those other minority or majority business owners to accompany the big investors. I agree with that totally. It should be a group effort in order to raise the economy. But only an attempt. I got to try to do so, but because I'm still doing business. Because we do need job creation. That could take South Africa to a different level.
So that is why my attitude towards BEE completely changed. And I'm saying scrap it because its intentions are not being implemented. Instead, it is only benefiting a very tiny few people. And if Starlink said, okay, let's give you the 30%, still the same people were going to benefit.
Okay, see, that's the problem.
So that is why I'm saying, I'm a black person. My family almost got unalived for this country, and still not even one BE, and I'm not saying I deserve it or I'm entitled to it. I'm just saying a lot of Black people are not benefiting from BEE, because if we were, things would be different today.
Absolutely.
So I'm saying scrap it and let's all work together.
Let's all work together.
Yeah, let's all
But let's work.
But let's work, yes.
Yeah, and then going back to what you said, and I actually think competition is very good. So I'm going back to what Mama said about the education.
Yeah.
I think education is very, very important. We got to know something.
Yeah.
And then there's something else that we're going to talk about, but I don't want to go there yet, but it's kind of a good place. But let's not go there yet.
Okay.
You mentioned working is it. We get together and we all work together and we work it out. We can move forward. But you mentioned corruption.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about corruption and what you're actually talking about.
Yeah. So in South Africa, we have this system. Oh, gosh, it's another policy that went wrong. Where
this is about policy.
It's policy that is enabling corruption
I gotcha.
in South Africa.
I gotcha.
The tender system.
Yeah, I've heard about the tender.
Yeah. The tender system has even gotten any Tom, Dick, and Harry who was a street corner dude who has no qualification dropped out of school intentionally because they thought school is boring, and a girl that fell pregnant, and the uncle, somebody in government, is responsible for procurement, and it's like, oh, let's give this to my daughter who doesn't even have a matric. Matric is our, how do I put this? Matric is our qualification to university examination.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand what you were saying.
Yeah.
They don't have the qualifications to do the job.
No.
They couldn't actually
absolutely
bid for the tender.
Yeah,
but they got the tender.
And then the government takes out a housing tender to build, let's say, 200 houses. Now, to build a house, or houses for that matter, you need a town planner, you need engineers, you need all of these things. And you're telling me a person who knows nothing about those things, just sees a piece of land that was allocated for housing, and you don't know the geomorphology, geology, and the science of that particular land.
No, nothing.
Nothing. You just come and you, like right now in Eastern Cape, Umtata, people build houses on a floodplain.
In the floodplain?
Floodplain.
Right. Because I saw it the other day. Yeah.
That's the result of a person who has no qualification to bring people into a space like that. Because if you're educated, you're a geologist or whatever in that field, or a town planner for that, and you're qualified, you would know that you don't build houses in a floodplain.
Because they will wash away.
Yeah.
So we're dealing with two different things.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily see that as being corruption initially. I see that as being just somebody that's unqualified, and the tender's been given to a family member. There's a word for nepotism.
Nepotism.
That shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do it, and if it works out and that person is qualified, we're happy.
Yeah, but the problem
I want to hear about when does that become corrupt?
So you get, let's say, a tender for, let's say, 10 rand.
Okay.
To build 5 houses, right? So out of that 10 rand, you are like, I deserve 9 rand. And so now, because it's 9 rand that you've taken, you are left with a rand. What do? You buy compromised material to build a house. If you look at the houses that have been built since 1994, are falling apart. There are cracks. People are being put in grounds that are sinking. We've seen houses literally going under. So the quality of the materials are just questionable, and they show within few months of build. Some RDP houses are still standing without anybody occupying them. They are white elephants because of the material that was
unsafe.
Yeah, very unsafe. So that's where the corruption comes in. You take 9 rand, and these people, when they take the money, it's not like they take You know how in Zulu we say, be like a rat where you bite and blow so that people don't see and feel
Right.
the bite? No, they just go, in Zulu say, they just go like the whole thing.
So there are no checks and balances?
They're supposed to be, but the thing is, there's always a politician that sits in these procurement decisions and positions who actually point, let's say, again, go back to an uneducated family member, and they'll say, okay, you are not known as my family member.
Okay.
Number one, you're not known as my family member. You're going to get a 10 to 400 million rand. 70 million rand of that money, you are going to direct it back to me. So at the end of the day, who suffers? It's the people they're supposed to be serving. That's where that corruption is. And most of these guys will tell you, no, we are doing business with government. They don't want to call it corruption. I think many Americans are stuck in the notion that they're still the greatest nation on earth, probably even most powerful. I got news for them.